Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
Hey friends, I am Neethi the Pharmacist, here with my co-hosts Janae Williams and Valerie Cruz, and we are on full. Welcome to Our View.
Hi, everyone.
Hey everybody. We are back with Miss Tami. So if you guys tuned in last week, then you know that we had released the episode in which we are discussing the power of microgreens, using microgreens as supplements. This week, we wanted to release this episode in which we are diving in to things like how much responsibility does an indoor farmer have in protecting and producing their own seed? Because, you know, when you're working in regenerative, balanced ecosystems, nature is taking care of all of that. So, what do you say?
Well, thank you for having me. And for indoor ag, what I feel like is, especially in an urban environment, that there's so much opportunity to teach folks about how food is grown, how it can be grown in dense spaces, how they can take their own little tray of microgreens and grow their own little nutrient-dense batch. So I think that our responsibility is being part of our community and sharing the clean, healthy food and food growing methods that we use with our community. The downside of what we do is the amount of seeds that we use. And so I have started to make this a point in every conversation I have with workshops, is that you have to be mindful of the amount of seeds that you're going to be using for this endeavor. If you're going to do it on a commercial level, you really have to be figuring out who you're going to buy your seeds from. In the time that I've been growing seeds for 3 years now, I've seen all my vendors go up in price, and they're getting fewer and fewer. As we were talking about in the last episode, we're 75% of the world's seeds are owned by 3 corporations. So it's
is that something with the browning of the earth that we should be worried about, that we're not even going to have the seeds? So see, this is the thing, like everyone's pushing this vegan, vegetation, plant-based movement when there's no way to sustain that at all. And in fact, you know, in these areas of the earth that are so brown that they can't even have the option of vegetation, they have to be 100% reliant on livestock only. There is no other fresh consumption for them, unfortunately, because the desertification has become so extreme. And America is headed right down that road. So it's not that we're not going to have food. It's not that you're going to get the choice and the variety that you want. And you're definitely not going to have plants without the livestock. You just are not. Fortunately, in America, because of the the variety of climates that we have here, we do have some areas that are moist enough where we would be able to run the livestock and maintain the greenery. But what if all the seeds become adulterated? And that's what we're fighting for, is to protect the heirloom seeds. And as we began to speak in the last episode with you regarding the seed companies, or, you know, we have a few corporations that are trying to own life, own these seeds. And if, as consumers, as eaters, we do not rise to do something about that and fight for this life not to be owned by just, a few, people who get to these corporations that are, we are always referring to they and them and whatever. We're talking about the people in charge. And I want everyone to do their due diligence to figure out who these people are. They're fewer than us. And we don't need them to be in charge. And we can also stop them from being in charge simply by not participating in what they're doing.
For sure. Don't buy it.
Can you
Just
elaborate?
don't buy it. So what I like to do is just support my the seed harvesters, the people who are really serious about heritage and non-GMO and organic seed. And as I said, there are fewer of them than there were when I started 3 years ago. But that's what
Why
I do.
is that? Like, what do they do as a business? What
a-
is their part in this cycle
So, I
that
mean,
helps you be the
I have
farmer?
3 or 4 different models of how these seeds. There's a company in San Diego called Kitazawa Seed, and they've been in business for 100 years, family business of seed,
Wow.
and they source seed from all over, but their standards are pretty high, and so I can get daikon radish and some really fabulous radishes from them, and some Asian greens from them that are just remarkable. But where they're being, their sources are also, so they source from other farmers who are collecting seed. So they're not a seed farm, they're just sourcing. And so their sources have shrunk. And so,
Okay.
and that's one model. Then there's high mowing seeds in Maine, and those are kids. They're all 30 and under, and they are so passionate about organic food, and this mission is their reason to be, and they're going to fight and fight and fight and fight. So I love to support them. They are the most expensive seed company in this country.
Right.
So you have to pay a lot to get their seed, but I do
Right.
because I support
Right,
their
and then
mission.
people try to say that you are overpriced or outpricing yourself with the microgreens that you produce, and I'm always arguing in your defense, well, find the seeds. Where are you going to find the seeds? And, I'm not trying to keep my food costs up. I mean, I'm not stupid, okay? But the reality is that, we're eating them at such an early stage that they don't grow to the level to become the full-on plant so that they are producing the seed and then reproducing. So in order for us to be able to have this medicine, which we really need desperately, we really need to figure out how we're all going to work. What can we do? Like, do we just all start buying from high mowing seeds? I mean, what do we got to do for them to, because are they growing it themselves? Or what? How are they? They're sourcing
They
it
are
from
growing
places?
it themselves. They are growing. They
Right.
are.
Because
growing
if they
it themselves.
can't
So
do it,
can
then
we
what
be
are we
a
gonna
little clear?
Mhm.
I don't know anything about farming, right? So when let's pick your favorite vegetable that you grow,
Arugula.
arugula.
Oh.
So when arugula grows, what's the cycle exactly?
So it's about a 6-week cycle from seed, from planting it to germinating it to microgreen and then baby. And then the flower is what produces the seeds. So that is after that 6 weeks, then it turns to, it's called bolting. If you've ever heard of a plant bolting, that's what it's turned to seed.
Okay.
So the flower comes out and then the seed falls off it. And they have teeny tiny little seeds and little flowers, and there's not very many on one plant.
So one seed produces the one plant, and does it always produce all the way?
No,
Okay, and this is very important. And does it always flower?
no.
Okay,
Really?
No,
so
they're pollinators. Yeah.
okay,
Oh, that's the bee dilemma. Yes, of course.
so you see people
So you're
going vegan and not supporting honey is a bee problem, which is a seed problem, which is a food problem. Are you getting it? So you must eat honey or buy it and throw it away. I don't really know. That's crazy. But whatever. I mean, buy it, use it for makeup and lotion. I mean, use it. You can actually make an incredible face wash, skin wash. It's healing. It is has peroxide properties. It's antibacterial. It's antiviral. I mean, honey, the power of honey is so powerful. You don't have to just suck it down and eat it, okay? You can rub it all over you and do all kinds of wonderful things. I mean, when they said they used to bathe with milk and honey, then that was for real. Like, that was actually how you nourish skin, okay? So, or in your hair. You want to talk about a natural shampoo or something. So if you don't want to consume it because you feel like you don't need any more sugar, you can use it 25 other ways, all right? Hair, skin, and nails is the number one way to use it. But if you're not purchasing honey then the beekeepers aren't keeping the bees because they can't afford to, and the bees aren't doing their job, and the bees aren't going to do their job if someone doesn't pull the honey. That is how this cycle of nature works that people are not talking about. It's very frustrating to me, as you can hear in my voice right now. I can't stand the fact that everybody's so easily trying to push everyone to, stop supporting livestock, which bees are livestock. They are domesticated. They require human beings to care for them and for them to care for us. We care for them, they care for us. That's all this whole big cycle is.
And part of the cycle with the bees is the fact that they do the pesticides and they do the spraying, which also kills the bees. So not only you not eating it, but you eating things with glyphosate and things like that are also killing them.
Supporting the wrong kind of produce.
As long as you stop doing those things, nature will regulate itself.
And cell phone usage and EMFs and a lot of things. Okay, there's a lot of pieces to this. But we know that, if you have responsible beekeepers, they're protecting them and they're using them, and that's what we need for seeds. Because if they're not pollinating the plants, are you hearing that one seed may not make it to flower? And definitely, because, just like human beings these days are, becoming more and more barren, that's what's happening with the plants. And that's happening as a result of the browning of the earth, which is a side effect of the people in charge. Who are the people in charge? They're fewer than us, and we're more than them, but they are holding all the dollars.
So can you explain how the people in charge are affecting the sourcing of the seeds?
So those three corporations are the GMO seed corporations, and they're keeping us from having the heritage organic seed in order to just pollute the market with their seed.
So their seed does not come from the flower. Their seed is in the lab.
In the lab.
Is what we're saying. So they have people in labs producing the seeds, and what happens next?
So what they're producing in those labs are the GMOs. So they're trying to have this started out with a mission of true concern for how we can feed more people, because we do have even in Raleigh, there's 25% of children don't eat 3 meals a day. So we do have issues with food scarcity, and we have issues with food justice. But so the idea about GMOs, one of them, there were several, but one of them was we have to make a seed that is sustainable in a harsh environment. We have to grow rice when it's drier than rice needing a lot of water. So those were the ideas behind it. And then it became this monster that turned into we're going to GMO everything to be able to own the food.
I mean, let's be clear, okay? What it is the corporatization, all right? The corporatocracy is that if you can't patent it, you can't own it.
Well, that's what I wanted to get at.
Right.
So what's happening is they're going into a lab and they're creating some sort of arugula seed. Let's call it that. And then they say, oh, but this arugula seed did not come from a plant. It came from my plant, right? My lab plant.
My patent.
So I get to go and put a patent on it, and then whoever's sourcing arugula has to buy it from me.
That's right.
And,
No matter what.
And I'm
and
hoarding,
I get the money from
I'm
it.
buying Kitazawas and high mowing seeds, and I'm hoarding them in my vault.
Oh,
So you
see,
guys can't have
that's
that.
another key. So they are getting real seeds.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then they're also, because they're removing it from the marketplace. But, again, we keep saying power to the people.
So the scarcity isn't that there isn't enough. The scarcity is that certain people are buying it because they have the money to do that, and or even harvesting it and keeping it for themselves.
So this is what always happens, right? It always comes back to the fact that we do not have a food problem. What we have is a greed problem, and somebody's hand is coming between you and your, plate. That's it. And you talk about food justice and, all of this other, it's always somebody's wallet that's coming between the two. It's never that
Nature.
it's never nature. Nature is bountiful. So don't ever forget this. But this is the lie that is being sold. The lie is that nature isn't enough. That's the lie.
No, it totally
and
is.
this entire next generation firmly believes that because they are looking for the science, which is the study of nature, which is not nature, which nature is beyond, which nature is more powerful than. So don't be confused. And I am going to say it really, 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 really clearly for you to understand that it is a lie that you need science for life. That is a lie.
There are solutions, and the solutions are not necessarily a technology issue. It's not GMO that's the answer.
It's not
for
the answer.
Food, for
it is not
plenty.
the answer. It is the damage. It is the lie. It is the lie that you're being told so that the few people in power, the people in charge, can be the ones who control everything. And the thing is that it's not even a secret anymore.
I think we need to change the label. I
Yes.
don't think saying to people you're being lied to is working.
Okay.
We've been doing that forever, right? What do we need to do? All we need to do is say, look, we brought you here. You're telling us that you, as a farmer, are having problems getting seeds. So if a farmer's having problems getting seeds, we, as a consumer, have to support you. What do we need to do?
Buy, like Neethi says, stay out of the grocery store. Don't encourage it, because in the grocery store, more and more products are GMO. And then there's this new mission to show everybody that they're not a GMO. And then you look at the package and you're like, there's no way this is not some GMO.
Confusion.
So, yeah, total confusion. And everything in the grocery store has started. You remember when things like used to be this big? And now they're like this big.
Yeah.
And they're going to get this big.
Yeah.
Why are we in the grocery store? So I think it's just supporting the folks who are wanting to, whether or not you're certified organic or whatever, if you just believe in and you walk the walk where you use organic inputs and
Are you talking
don't
about
do-
integrity?
a little bit. So find those farmers, and that's the value of Neethi, is that's what she has worked hard in this market to do, is find those of us who believe that there's a different way. We can protest in our way to show people that we can grow the food. The food can be clean. It doesn't have to be
Adulterated.
that's right. And monocultured. I mean, really,
No.
the reason that this country has the food insecurity is because we killed the food.
So not
with
food
pesticides.
scarcity, food insecurity. Okay, there's a big difference in those two words. So let's use the correct vocabulary, all right? So there's an insecurity because the consumers have been confused, all right? So there's a miscommunication happening. And we're here to clear all that up. And so, yeah, that's the assault that you're talking about, that we've already addressed in previous episodes, this assault, that all of us have experienced this assault, you know, that we're told something and then we find out as we go more further and further down into the rabbit hole of like, wow, okay, we found the microgreens, they're going to save our lives. What? You don't have no more seeds? You know, so, I mean, but if you're going into a grocery store because you just demand to eat green beans when we don't have any, then that's the problem, you know? The problem is that you should eat seasonally what's available within your landscape. And if you can't find it, you shouldn't eat it. If your farmers aren't growing it, you shouldn't eat it. And guess what? You know, all of a sudden you would become aware that you are going through a cycle and it does come back around, and those things do come back and you will get them sometime. But you may not have it at this minute. And we need the plants to grow to fruition, you know, so that they'll flower properly, so that not only will we have the filling large vegetable, but then we have the medicinal seeds. We need the excessive amount of seeds so that we can have the medicinal microgreens as well. We need both of them. But that requires way more seeds, which is the reason why they're telling you that you're going to have a food problem, which we're telling you can be resolved by eating more honey and not going vegan, which they're trying to push on a grand scale. Follow the money. Follow the money. Follow the money and find out where you need to push more cash flow to have the heirloom product. Because everybody's waiting to rise to the occasion, right? I mean,
Mhm.
growing, what's the name of them again?
Growing power.
No,
Okay.
the seed company.
Oh, high mowing.
High
Mhm,
mowing
mhm.
seeds. So I try to talk about them a lot.
mhm.
And I think y'all should realize that, Tami teaches people how to grow the microgreens, and other people wonder if she's crazy, because if they learn how to grow them, then they won't do it anymore. But the funnier part is that when everybody's growing them, they're buying more seeds. Do you get it? Okay. And the
Well,
more
that's the other thing. It's it's I say support your farmers, because if I have to go out and figure out which seeds to put in a garden, and then on top of that grow it, and then on top of that harvest it, and then on top of that then get to eat it, that's too much for me. So I will support Tami every
Yeah.
which way I can.
Right.
And if she says support, I'm sorry, mowing?
High mowing
High
seeds.
mowing seeds, I will support high mowing
And-
seeds, because that's how we as a community and as regenerative consumers can keep it sustainable.
Right.
Everyone loves that sustainable word. Well, there you go.
Yes.
You keep it sustainable by, as a community, finding out what the farmer needs, finding out what the consumer needs, finding out what everybody in the cycle needs, because
it's a
everything's a cycle,
win,
and
win.
supporting it.
Do you see how that works? It's not a corporatocracy here.
Right.
So when people say they don't want that, they think that I'm going to be offended if they go directly to the farmer. Are you crazy? No, I'm not actually. I actually am doing this so you'll go to them. But you can't just go to them once. You got to go to them every week. I know how to grow the microgreens. I've taken plenty of your classes. We've hosted the classes, okay? We're pushing the classes. We want everybody to take the classes because everyone wants to do it. But then guess what? Y'all aren't really doing it every week. You do it for a minute and then you quit, okay? That's because we're busy. I'm busy. I'm too busy to do it. I know how. But it's just easier for me to pay her to do it and know that we're going to support the right seeds. So do you understand? And I'm not saying you
can
have to
still
do it
get
my way.
convenience. You can still get convenience. You can still get nutrients,
Yes.
and you can still live a what do
Regenerative
we call,
lifestyle.
a normal life, right?
Yeah, look, we're trying to all remain, in the balance of what we've, where we're at technologically and otherwise. We're not living out on Little House on the Prairie right now, riding on wagons or whatever, and we don't want to. And I don't want to live on the land. I don't need to be living on that kind of, in that moment. I'm not really for that. People are and they enjoy it. Great, awesome. I'm just saying I need to be in a house. All right. And I kind of like it. And, that doesn't mean that I don't want to be able to go outside and touch the earth and kiss the soil if I want to, when I need to, as often as I would like to. I'd like to be able to go out in my backyard and do that every day. Why can't I? Why? Because somebody next door is spraying Roundup or something because they can't believe that nature's good enough. And they don't have any value or respect for what has to happen for these seeds. And that's because nobody's making you think about it. Not because you're evil. It's because you don't know. Because I didn't know. Because we're just la going on about our day. And I'm doing a great job because I cooked dinner. I think I'm awesome. Just like she thought she's awesome for growing the microgreens, until we're like, wait a minute, we need some more seeds. Where are we going to get them from? Even we are finding out every day that there's one more thing we messed that up too. So can you help us? Let's all work together. The collaboration that we're trying to create is what the people in charge don't want.
Right.
Exactly right.
That's actually it. That if we all collaborated, then these three corporations couldn't make all the money because there'd be too much collaboration. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. I don't know how many of you are very strategic thinkers out there. I'm not very smart myself. I don't know how to play chess. But if you are a chess player, then it would occur to me that this strategy, divide and conquer, is very effective. And it is historically been proven to work, And so we say, if we want to win, we have to collaborate. And how hard has it been for me to try to get farmers to work together? Because everyone in the corporatocracy has already poisoned them all to consider each other competitors to the nth degree, which is the reason. That's my big gripe, by the way, with farmers markets. I don't like it because it puts everybody in a state of contention at the market where they feel like they're against each other because they don't allow enough other producers in there. It's not fair to the eaters and it's not fair to the producers. So if you have enough chicken producers, enough beef producers to create categories, for them to all be able to share what they're doing, then the eaters would be able to go to a farmer's market and have more of a variety and not be disappointed and also be able to get all the 10 different parts and pieces that they want. Markets aren't allowing that. That's my big gripe with them.
Well, I think that's just because farmers markets are run by
corporatocracy.
But it's just too much. One person running the whole thing or something it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And there are some farmers markets where the farmers are running. So it's, can you imagine?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's
are
like
they more
forest.
successful?
They're okay. They're okay. They do
I mean, don't
like
you
to
still
collaborate.
feel like you still have that feeling of divide and conquer?
At that market, I would say not so much because they grew up together, all pretty collaborative. But I have seen that, and I was told one of the markets I go to, if I bring my mushrooms, I'm going to upset so-and-so mushroom grower. And I was like, oh
no.
my goodness. My
And if-
goodness.
And we know you can't have enough mushrooms.
Oh, I know.
I mean, you can't. We're all like, can we have some more?
Mhm.
You know, I saw that you took some mushrooms somewhere else and we didn't get some. We were sad. You know, see, this is what I'm saying is there's not enough mushrooms.
There's not enough.
There's not enough because if I have to say, I'm sorry, we don't have any, and then I see them on a post. What? I mean, anyway, we're being funny. No, truthfully, like there's just not enough. I don't know how you can upset someone when mushrooms are up and gone.
Mhm.
They're up and gone in 5 seconds. Eaters, you guys need to hoard the mushrooms.
You're funny.
Especially the local ones. They're just so much better for you.
Yes. That's another conversation. Are we trying to go there? Where are we going?
You want to ask me about soil?
Yeah, I want to ask you about soil.
Okay.
So you're growing, and you had mentioned in the other episode about burlap, right?
Mhm.
So
Organic.
my question is, when you have your sprouting and the seedlings, how are they getting their nourishment without that soil?
So that question is so dead on with regard to this particular way of growing. So early on, I had a kid from Carolina in environmental science volunteer to be a woofer on my farm for his spring break of all things, and that meant he wasn't going to live in my house. I was just going to let him see how we did things. And he worked for me the whole week long, and just the most passionate kid. And at the end of the week, he gave me this fabulous book on seeds, and it's the religion that's evolved around seed. It's the science about seed. It's got chapters of all of the beautiful things about seeds. And as I was going through it, I was crying because some of it's beautiful art that has to do with seeds. I mean, every bit of it was just so heartwarming. I get to this one piece, and it's just like the light goes on with me because as I've witnessed the seeds, I've watched them when we've had issues with lighting, with watering, with, there's no employees in there for 2 days. They're still remarkable. Well, why is that? Because in the microgreen stage, when the taproot goes down, nature has given that seed everything it needs. It doesn't need a damn other thing. A little bit of water and maybe a little light. It doesn't even require light, and it will grow.
Wow.
So it doesn't look for the resources in its media until after the true leaf has formed. And that's when the network of roots has developed to tap the media for those
That's
nutrients.
amazing.
So isn't that fabulous?
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's nature. That's
exactly right.
capsule.
Nature
already
said, I want to protect
programmed.
this thing and from diversity in climate, and wind could blow it away, and a flood could flood it, and just or a drought. It's got to be sustained during that vulnerable period, and it
The
sustains itself.
miraculous
Mhm.
seeds.
That's amazing. And they're so full of
Life-giving
goodness
force.
and nutrients, and yet they're young.
Mhm.
It's just from their original seed state
That's right.
that they're getting. That
That's right.
all of this is
Which is
happening.
nature's this miracle.
Gift.
It's amazing. So we didn't need any little micro needle to go in there and program it to not want to for bugs to not want to
Nope.
eat it.
Nope.
Like a pesticide or a little herbicide.
Nope.
Like nature didn't need any of that.
That's right.
Nature's
Exactly
got it all figured out.
Yeah.
You know, human beings are the ones that are, you know, trying to create more efficiency. You know, I mean, and that's commendable. You know, it's also interesting and fascinating that, you know, that you are even able to manipulate nature. It's kind of like, that's pretty cool, you know? But I don't want to eat that.
Right.
I mean, you know, like when you're in your lab class and you dissect the frog and you learn about everything for the first time, it's gross and whatever, but it's also amazing.
Yeah.
Okay? It's miraculous. But I don't want to eat that.
Science is incredible. I mean,
yeah.
but people are, the crazy thing is, and it's because people don't know, you're eating it.
Yes.
So it's all manipulated. That's why we keep saying Franken foods. It's because it's like Frankenstein, the monster, you know, like you're programming him to wake up, right? That's the seed. And they're programming it through science, which is completely amazing. Like, I'm going to say,
very cool.
When I first came here, I wanted to work in that area because I came from Penn State and I was working actually in a plant biology lab.
Oh.
And we were, you know, doing some research for the PI or the investigator. And the science was, you know, so the way we did it, it was just like, spray it with a little more to see what happens. You know, it's all very structured, but it's amazing when something happens. We got a little more growth. Or so when they started doing the, that was around the time of Dolly cloning. I remember that. That was in the mid 90s.
Yes.
I thought that was incredible. And what I noticed is that we all had our heads in the fact that the science was so incredible because it is, and scientists aren't thinking about the impact, but certainly regulators should be thinking about the impact and doing more testing, and they're not. But you know, it's just incredible technology, but it's gotten out of hand, and people aren't realizing
it's the arrogance of man. Okay, so
Yeah.
you know what? Discovery, amazing. You know, knowledge, incredible. You know, and no one's doubting that. And in fact, you know, my younger self used to think, you know, that people like us were crazy, you know, because what is the harm in knowledge and gaining this information? And I loved science, and I thought science is so cool, you know, and why are people villainizing the science? And, you know, I kept saying that all the time until I found out that they were using this to actually make decisions for me. And, you know, you become a mother and they're making decisions for the life of your child and how that's going to affect them or whatever. And then I turned into that crazy person who was just completely anti what they were doing, not because the scientists were bad people, because I think science is cool. I mean, you know, we're Indian. We like to figure these things out. And I think everyone, you know, that is the fun of having the kids do the classes, because we're watching them and they get to see the seed, you know, go into these different steps and stages and stuff. It's miraculous. It's amazing. But when you are violating someone else's sacred bloodstream without their permission, now you just crossed a line, you know, and so there's an ethics line that doesn't seem to exist anymore. And what we're trying to do is give you guys information so that you can figure that out, because, hey, I'm for food freedom. If you want to eat something that's fake and manipulated, great. Do you realize that it is browning the earth? And do you know that it is going to be short-lived, because it isn't sustainable, because it can't continue on, because you can't have all of that. There is no, I mean, what is it? It's like Uncle Mark was saying on the a couple episodes ago, where he was saying, you know, you're spending your soil bank. So once the money's gone, you know, once the power, the life-giving force is gone, what do you think is going to happen? How long is that going to work for? So, you know, what's happened is these people have become so selfish and so arrogant and so powerful that you have them in charge. How did they become in charge?
I think what people think, this is a guess, but I think they think that science can save them. So when there is no more nutrients, when there is no more, when the bank is spent, that's when science will step in and it'll be survival of the fittest. If your body can handle it,
Isn't
good.
it already?
If your body can't, too bad.
Isn't that already? I mean,
Yeah.
that is
It is
right.
already. It's like programming to
Absolutely.
be dependent upon science to save you. So
Yes.
science is manipulated and put the hand in. There's nothing wrong with science, like we said, but the technologies put the hand in and cause the challenge. And so now when everyone becomes sick, where do they look to? The science, because it's like we're programmed to find that, and then we want to know what is the best supplement. You know, how can I grab a hold of this supplement or that supplement, and then you have this big thing full of supplements, and that's how you're getting your energy. And
You mean or pharmaceuticals? So
But survival
Yes.
of the fittest isn't working either. Our children are born instantly with food allergies.
Yeah.
wait a minute.
How does that happen?
Why are you acting like survival of the
Yeah.
fittest just started? I mean, you know, ding, 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 ding. Survival of the fittest is from the beginning of time. I don't know why anyone acts like this hasn't been happening. You know, I mean, just because we're not living in a cave anymore doesn't mean that the landscape is any different. You know, it looks like it's safer because there aren't dinosaurs chasing us or something, but it's not safer. It's more dangerous because now you've got someone sitting at the top of the food chain who is in power making these decisions, and they're smarter than the dinosaurs. Now what?
complicated.
It's complicated. So let's talk
But
about.
we do have solutions. We do have alternatives. It could be as complicated as you make it.
Hope is there.
And we're not.
Right.
We're simplifying. It,
Yeah.
Yes.
In my view.
And creating awareness.
Yeah.
Because nothing's
The time
complicated
is
if you don't
now
know
to
there's a
rise.
problem.
That's
We're
right.
we're trying to say rise because you can't
Please.
wait anymore. Like this is the time. So let's talk about sustainability regarding like the light and how it affects the seed, because the seed has everything. You touched on it for a
Sure
second.
does. So again, I grow in a shipping container, and the shipping container is four sides. All four sides are 6 inches insulated. We use about 10% of the water of a traditional similar size crop. So let's say that my 20 tons can be grown on soil. I'm using just infinitesimal amount of water. So we're sustainable in the water range. We use LEDs, and we have found that we can use LEDs every other day. We can use them for less than 6 hours a day for lighting, because the plants, again, the seeds are programmed by nature to sustain themselves for the first few days. So we don't need a lot of that stuff. We didn't know that when we started growing indoors. We learned how to grow. All indoor ag owes its life and a science to pot growers, because everybody was growing in their basement with the lights and all. And if that hadn't happened, we wouldn't have the leg up and all of the learning curve. But one of the things
But they're growing it to full.
they are, and so they use a lot of lights, and they use a lot of fans, and they use a lot of. So we just emulated that, and you know,
But you didn't even have to do all
didn't
of that.
have to do all that.
Yeah.
Found as we
because
went along
they're
the road.
mimicking nature.
Right.
Right. So, which brings me to the different potencies of the seeds and at what level, you know, because look, what they're doing is they're creating a stressed environment so that these micronutrient, the micro greens, the microgreens are so much more powerful because they have been stressed. Okay? If you push life, the life-giving force, with some stress, then you create a stronger life-giving force, because that's how powerful it is. Okay? That's how powerful nature wants your life to be. That the more stressed you are, the more powerful you become. Okay? And so, I mean, obviously there's limits to all of this, but so there's that piece of it. But then there are some seeds that are more potent than others.
Yes. So if you're in a Whole Foods and the vegetable section, you'll see this thing called the Aggregate Nutrient Density Index that they put together, which is a list of about 25 vegetables, and they're ranked by their nutrient density. Now, these are full-grown vegetables. They're not microgreens. And I found that really interesting. So I went to the scientist at the University of Maryland, and compared her research to this index, and it was actually completely different. So as a microgreen,
Wow.
I know, as a microgreen, the most nutrient dense, the most packed with the most nutrients is cilantro and radish. So
Ah.
where all of, I think all of our programming tells us that the cancer preventatives, the collared scaled cabbage are, that's what you would expect.
Right.
They're midway down the list.
Broccoli.
Yep, broccoli, all of those. So that was fascinating to me.
I think it's fascinating because I have folks who try to come to us with this index and demand the microgreens of that sort. And I'm saying, yeah, no, probably it's okay, fine if you think so, but not really. And, you know, the more flavorful I think we've experienced, the more flavorful, the more powerful.
It's so true. Those two are the most flavorful.
Yes.
Yeah.
The radish
So
will make you
They're,
get a tear
they're
in your eye.
complete
So-
opposites of each other, but they're most flavorful.
And anyone who's following me knows that I push radishes to even as adult vegetables because there's nothing more detoxifying and cleansing and consistent, and the varieties of the radishes are available basically all year versus, you know, some of the things that I push people to consume and what I want them to lean on. For example, squashes. There's winter squashes, summer squashes. They're year round. Radishes. There's the ones from the spring, ones from the winter. There's year round. You know, and these are things that help you gain life-giving force faster, stronger, harder, more consistently all the time. And they're not any of those powerful top whatever 5 cancer killer foods that most people would want you to believe. Again, the education is coming from the centralized system powered by the people in charge. So let's just follow the money all the way back for every one of these things. Not to say that we don't agree that you need the entire round robin of all the greens and vegetables that you can get your hands on. I mean, all of them. There isn't one that, and we're not saying, we're saying vegetables mostly. You don't hear us talking too much about fruit. And I'm not saying that fruit is wrong, but that's a completely different episode, right?
For sure.
We have a whole nother episode that would just be about fruit. But the vegetables, the villainizing of the vegetables, it makes no sense. Just no sense ever. Never. Don't try to pick one over the other. It makes no sense. So, what about wheatgrass?
So in the last episode, I was trying to define the definition, or trying to articulate the definition of a microgreen, and I said that it's the cotyledon stage. Well, wheatgrass is one of the monocots, so it actually looks like a piece of grass that's only got one cotyledon leaf. And as powerful as, or as incredible as wheatgrass is in nutrition, it is at the top of the list for everything. I mean, it has every vitamin, all the many of the minerals. It has 18 amino acids. It is just a remarkable plant. It takes 1 ounce a day to.
Isn't it like a sweet potato in that sense?
Yes.
That's villainized continuously.
Yes.
I know more physicians, holistic and otherwise, that will take you off of sweet potatoes, which I think is absurd to take somebody off of sweet potatoes ever. It's just crazy talk. Crazy talk. Just like you shouldn't have the wheatgrass. You know, to ever stop eating sweet potatoes is crazy. Crazy talk. Because they have the most vitamins and minerals as a full-grown vegetable, the same as the wheatgrass. Now, how do we consume this wheatgrass? Because you can't just eat grass. We're not cows. And what about the gluten?
That's a question that comes at market a lot, especially folks who believe that they're gluten intolerant. So there is no gluten in the cotyledon leaves because, again, the plant hasn't developed full on to maturity where the seeds are produced. And seeds are produced on wheat just like they are on arugula. You go through the stages of the full-grown growth, and then it bolts and it turns to seed, and then that's when you harvest the seed. So there are no seed, no wheat, no gluten, in
The grass.
the grass.
Why would
And how
they
tall
think
does this
that?
grass have to get to
So
bolt?
yeah, as tall as me and you.
I mean, I want everyone to understand this very well. That for grass to seed, it has to reach almost 3 feet.
For wheatgrass, it's more than that. It's about
Yeah.
4. Yeah.
I mean, and it used to, there was a time when grass used to grow 6, 8, 9 feet, okay? And that was why back in the Little House on the Prairies days, you couldn't just run off into the grass. And people used to carry triangles and something to beat on to create noise so you wouldn't get lost in the grass, because you can get lost and you would not know how to get back home. And so it was actually a big problem. And the problem is that if you let the grasses get that tall without having the buffalo, without having the migration patterns, without having something to consume it, that is the same problem as the naked soil. Same problem. And so how do you get wheatgrass seeds if you got to get it to be 6 feet tall? How are we going to continue to have wheatgrass?
Exactly right.
Where are they doing the wheatgrass?
And I've run out of it a couple times this year because there has not been enough seed.
So all of you people relying on the wheatgrass, you know, but so I don't know, Tami, I could just get wheatgrass powder at the store.
Yes.
I mean, really though,
It is. So
they want me to just buy the powder. It's first of all, it's enzymatically dead. I mean, what are all the problems with it? Talk about that.
So that happens all the time at market. Everybody believes that if they just take that little capsule, and
wheatgrass
all
powder.
of these conversations that we've been having for the last 2 episodes, and just in general, just rationally, how can something that likely came from 4 or 5 different sources all over the globe get squished down, dried out, then
Killed.
compacted, then put in a pill, ever do with something that you just
The
grew
dead body.
locally,
Isn't it? They take the dead body of the grass. It's a dead body. Let's be honest about what it is, okay? You have to take the wheatgrass, create the dead body out of it, so you dry the grass. And then you make a powder out of it, if they even just did only that, which I don't believe, okay? But whatever, because I don't trust people anymore. You know, the corporatocracy, I don't trust. So whatever it is that they have to do to dry and kill the dead body and then make a powder out of the body, and now you're going to eat the body, and you think that is going to give you life-giving force? Does that even make sense to anybody? I just really want to know. I mean, you know, it doesn't make any sense to me. So you don't have to be, I don't need scientific proof. I'm not waiting for a lab to send me the test on this because I don't need the scientific proof. I mean, you might want the scientific proof, but I don't even want it. I don't need it. I'm not waiting for it. I already happen to just know from my own common sense. Because why is no one using their critical thinking, common sense skills? Why?
And one of the other things about supplements is it requires a lot more of whatever, because
A lot more dead body.
that's right,
Right.
than the fresh with the life in it.
That's a good
Higher dose.
Because there's no life-giving force. There's no life-giving force. I don't care
If it
what
works.
kind of expensive machinery they dehydrated it in and how sanitary and, you know, actually, the more sanitary it is, the more dead it is, the more useless it is.
Right.
So, you know, I don't need it to be, you know, what do they call
Sterile?
it? Sterilized. If it's sterile, that means I'll be sterile, which means we just talked about this in every episode, I think. We keep telling you that they're sterilizing us. Who's they? The people in charge. The people in charge are figuring out ways to sterilize us, but you're not. You know, you guys have this information. You can understand what I'm saying, I think, right? Like,
Well, really,
Has anybody
it's-
used these
What
words,
people
maybe?
don't get, okay, maybe it's not intentional, but as a byproduct of consuming things that have no nutrients, consuming things that
Right.
are mononutrient even, or consuming things that come from labs, as a result, we're getting less. We're having less of an ability to have children, and it is what it is. Because if you look at ratios, and I'm sure there's many out there. I haven't looked for them because I don't care, but there's many ratios out there that say women are going to infertility more and more with each generation, and that's a given. I know I've seen.
I don't
it in
need
my
I don't need
generation.
ratios because we see the sterility
Right.
clinics when in the 60s and 70s you didn't see no sterility
Right.
clinics. I mean, that was when everybody was trying to not be pregnant, and That was all. That was the biggest problem, was how do you not be pregnant? It was never how to get pregnant. I mean, this is a new problem. I remember when I first got married, and our parents were joking around with us saying, what is all this thing about, trying to get pregnant? Why do you guys think you can't get pregnant?
Yeah.
Do you need to know how to get pregnant? We're like, no, we don't want to hear it. No. I mean, that's what they were like. Do you guys just not know how to do the deed? I mean, like, what is the problem? And our parents' generation can't even understand this problem of sterility because it just never existed. And some folks want you to believe the power, I would say the people in charge want you to believe that we just didn't talk about it back then. And the truth is, we didn't have to talk about it. And the other part of that is that who's keeping secrets when we were growing up? Where were the secrets? In the closet? What closet? Because I have been in every closet. I mean, tell me.
In every closet.
I mean, seriously, well, for real. Like in the neighborhood, all of us at that time knew the neighbors.
That's right.
And we all went in and out of everybody's houses. And we went in and out of everybody's closets. In fact, I remember.
That's the best hide and seek
That
game.
was the best hide and seek game, was you would run in and out of other people's houses, and somebody's mama would chase you out, screaming and yelling, chasing you with a broom. Get out! You're supposed to be outside. Why are you in the house? And they would be yelling at you to get out. But that was the, your moment to catch your breath or something. You go run into somebody's house and, oh crap, the mama's coming, and you run back out because you're not allowed to be inside. But you would run in. There was no closet that could be protected from the children because people who had children, forget it. And we ran into houses that didn't have children because you had the crazy woman on the street. You always had the crazy lady. And she was always fussing about you running in and out of her house, but we did it anyway. And she didn't shoot us or anything. And she probably missed us when we weren't there. You know what I mean? And she secretly would have cookies somewhere strategically placed where we could go and get them. So, that was the growing up. And I know I wasn't unique in this growing up experience, okay? And you probably had it even more fun.
We definitely.
You had more fun we did.
Yeah, everybody
So I mean, there was nobody's house that you couldn't run in and out of. I mean, somebody might not have liked it, and they told you, and you got a beating for it, and you just didn't do it as often.
How did we get in the closet?
I know, we're in the closet. Let's get out. What I mean is that the lie, I know, Valerie's going to get me next. I keep bumping into the two of them. Gosh. But the lie is that there was these people in a closet that no one knew about. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I think our parents would laugh even louder than us because everybody knew everybody's secrets. There were no secrets. The secret was that so-and-so had a secret and we weren't allowed to talk about it, and you respected the secret by not talking about the secret. But then as you grew up, the elders would reveal the secret when they didn't care no more about the secret. Isn't that what happened? They'd be like, yeah, so-and-so would have so-and-so in the closet, and their uncle was crazy. And they used to have to hide them.
And Niti found them, but she don't remember.
The kids would keep running in and out. You couldn't even keep the closet locked tight enough.
You're so funny.
So, not like today. Now it's more dangerous because there probably is a closet, and we don't know because every time you ring somebody's doorbell, they go run and hide. No one actually opens the door. Where we would open the door and invite people in and have coffee and cake. I know everybody thinks
people aren't home, to be fair, right? They're not home.
I think they're home. They're hiding. They're working from home. Where are they going? They're not going anywhere. Nobody's going anywhere. Nobody wants to drive. And they tell me that they can't drive. I mean, God, you're more than 3 miles away. We used to ride our bike 7 miles to my friend's house. When we were younger, we would ride bikes one way to one of my friends. It was 7 miles. That isn't an exaggeration. I'm not saying that like I think they think I'm making it up. Like, you remember how the people used to say, I used to hike 7 miles. No, I mean, the truth is, if you go on the bike route that I took, it was probably more than the 7 miles because the car was 7 miles. So we were riding in and out of and around places that you couldn't go. So probably it was more than 7 miles one way. And I was like, as an adult going, why did my mama let me ride 7 miles away? And she didn't even know where I was. She didn't. Well, she knew that we would go to so-and-so's house. And she had to know that they were 7 miles away. And so, you know, but we came home every day. I don't know. Maybe she thought we weren't going to come back one day. But maybe that was what was the closet. I don't know. What are we supposed to be talking about? Sorry. I know. I got us in the closet, and now you'll have to get me out.
It was about the, you know, monoculture and everything being so sterile and us being so afraid of complexity, you know? Because really nature is complex. And when you get away from the complexity, then you're getting away from health. So why is it that we feel like we have to know everything? We don't need to know everything. We don't need to have that, you know, when we think of supplements, it's one thing we're pulling out of what nature would have given us through microgreens, a myriad, I like to call it a diversified portfolio of nutrients. We want that, but yet we've been convinced that we take one thing out that maybe someone says we're deficient in, and then we just have to have that one thing, but it's throwing our bodies out of balance.
That's because we don't know anything, Janae. Let me see that thing. Let me show y'all something. You see this? She made this little pretty card with a chart, and
Which
you can't.
he showed earlier.
Yeah, he showed it earlier.
Uh-huh.
You probably can't read it. It doesn't matter. Okay, what I'm trying to say is that she's got a list of things that says like vitamin A, lycopene, you know, vitamin C, E, K, whatever, blah blah blah. How much of it is in there? The IUs. Okay. My point is, this is just what we know of that. Now, if I was to take the wheatgrass and go to the lab, I got to tell the lab what they're supposed to be testing for. I have to tell them what I want them to find. They don't just automatically know. Okay? And so when someone says to me, did we have whatever stuff lab tested? No, we didn't. And guess what? We felt better anyway. And guess what? We only have our experiences. And that's what Miss Valerie over here is always trying to say, like, why do you need to know that? And then other people think we're ignorant because we just don't want to know that. Or when I first met you, Janae, she thought I wasn't interested in the science and she wanted to know the science and I couldn't tell her the science. And I was like, no, it's not that. It's just that it's so complex. It is so much more than that. And it is bigger. And you just articulate it better because she's a scientist. Like, she actually
Had a little bit.
well, she says she's not officially, but she is really.
I
kind
think so too.
I think so. In this group, she's a scientist.
That's right.
And so, you know, she's going to analyze things in these certain ways. And one thing I'm always trying to encourage everyone to do is to have more faith. The whole problem is that faith has been removed or it's taboo because it must be some religion or whatever. That isn't what we're saying. You have to be able to, at some moment, have faith in me, have faith in Tammy, have faith in somebody else. Because you can't be the knower of all things. I can't be the knower of all things. And the scientists definitely aren't the knowers of all things. These doctors human beings don't live long enough. Somebody said to me, well, I've been a such and such for 50 years. And I'm like, well, sorry, that's just not long enough for me. Because the grasses have been around for way longer than that. And nature has been in charge longer than that. And I can't live long enough to know all the answers. And I don't want to know. I just know that when I respect and have faith in life-giving force, I'm not falling apart.
Right. And, you know, there's some people that don't have faith. You know, that's a choice, right?
It's a choice.
But they have to recognize that there is nature. So a lot of those folks that say, you know, I don't believe in this or that, there's nature. Okay. So, you know, we can always talk on that level of nature.
For sure.
And
are you sure that that's like in charge?
Nature's in
all right.
charge.
So if you are a living being, nature is in charge. And try getting as far away from it as possible as a human being. Think about being so specific about everything that you take in your body. All right. Don't let it be complex. You know, maybe we could run a study. Maybe we can run some kind of experiment. You know, so you eat what you know is truly good being. It grows. It's not processed in any way.
It's from the soil.
It's just from the soil, and it is what it is. One ingredient. That's what it is. And then have someone else just, you know, go ahead and deal with the supplements and those other ingredients that are in there and packaged processed foods with long ingredients lists, and just see nature at work.
So is that what we're doing? Isn't that what we already did?
That's right.
The reason we did the show is because we are observing this on a continuous basis.
Yes.
The reason that we're using the words that we're using, and the reason we're being so, I don't know, you could say we're being irresponsible with the way that we're kind of throwing things around, a little bit. It's very intentional. We're doing it because you should be the critical thinker, because I'm not going to convince you anyway. Even if I have all of those, itty bitty numbers and everything that you want me to dissect and hand you, which I'm not going to do for you, then I want you to go and do it. And when you figure it out, then you can just report back to me what you find, because I've already done my, elimination. I've already done it. And, it wasn't a small thing, and it didn't happen in 5 seconds. And I'm not trying to stop you or anybody else from doing it either. None of us are. We're not saying that you shouldn't be doing that.
Do it.
We're saying do it. We're saying, why aren't you doing it? We're saying hurry up, because the earth is browning.
We need you.
Yeah, we need you to hurry up and catch up, because, we need more seeds.
Exactly.
We, the animal people, need more seeds. We want the more seeds. And we need them for the livestock too, by the way. And our livestock, we're creating our community, and our community, we're going to be self-sustaining no matter what. We already have our little militia going on. We think you need one too. So, we're not.
You need to join.
Yeah, we all just need to.
It's all about numbers and community and each other.
And each other. We don't want to watch people suffering, and that's what we're doing, and we don't like it.
Right.
That's actually what it is, right?
Absolutely.
Tammy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
both
you
all
so
for
much,
having me.
Tammy.
Thank you. This was fun.
And we hope you guys will stay tuned and keep tuning in every week. And we will just keep trying to bring you more and more questions, and keep trying to push people into corners.
And bringing real everyday heroes.
Yes.
Aw.
Thanks, guys. Like to hear more shows like this, please help us grow our army of Minas by visiting our website and making a donation today. We are a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, and I ask that you please like and share this video, follow us on Facebook, become involved with us on Instagram and Twitter, and all of our links can be found in the show notes. Thank you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.